Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mango Publishing Heart Wisdom panel. I'm Sherry Richert Belul, author of Say It Now, 33 Creative Ways to Say I Love You to the most important people in your life. And oh my gosh, I am so happy. I'm so happy today to have Marianne and Melanie here as our guest authors talking about fierce kindness and courage. And for those of you who are watching the replay, come live, because before we start recording, we always have so much fun. We talk about beautiful things and naked yoga and whatever else. So just a little teaser to get you to come here live. But today, before we officially have our authors introduce themselves, I know Marianne has brought something very special for us. Marianne?
This is a love letter to courage. Dear capricious, consistent, contradictory courage, please greet your family for me. Clarity, compassion, and consistency are such fine siblings. I know you each have compelling work to do. I'm sure you all wish you could gather together more often just for fun. You are all fully occupied answering the call for the greater good. I admire that about you. No call for help is too small. You manage to hear the quietest whisper for assistance. You're so good that way. I'm grateful for all the ways you've shown up for me. My earliest recollections of your presence are with me always. They are among my guiding principles. Navigating the dangerous structures built of alcoholism required having you by my side. I know that choosing to hide from inevitable abuse didn't look brave to others, but you knew, and I knew, it was the most autonomous and courageous choice. And when I grew up enough, what was I 8? You were right there with me, holding high my clenched fists and giving breath to strengthen my voice. Never, ever do that again, ever. Just as you promised it would, courage. That stand worked. You taught me how to use my voice for myself, as well as in the service of others. Courage, you wear so many different hats and garments. People don't always recognize you. Even I am sometimes unable to see that it's you. But when you speak, I recognize you immediately. You provide different directions, and some of them seem contradictory in nature. Go here, choose another way. Wait, time will tend this, not you. This one is yours to carry. Pick it up, pick it up. Let go of your end of the rope. Now, this is not yours. Try that road and just see where it goes. Pack light. It's a long road ahead. Courage, I'm grateful for the thousands of times you have whispered to me, stop for now. Try again tomorrow. Love, M.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Thank you, Sherry. I'm grateful you asked me to read something. I modeled it on your habit of love letters.
And tell people, when I said to you, because you sent it to me, and I said, oh, would you please read this today? Or, what did you tell me?
Well, you asked me to read something, and I wrote it for today, for us.
She just wrote it. I mean, I love that. I love that. And I really wanted to underscore, like, what a gift, that you showed up with something that you wrote, especially for us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Since we have you right here talking to us, how about if we have you start, and then we'll have Melanie introduce herself after.
I'm Marianne M Rodmaker. My name was not given to me at birth as M. I had it added into my name legally. And I had it added into my name legally when, through a divorce, my lawyer reverted me to my married name, not my maiden name. And the judge would not grant me the clerical error courtesy, even though the lawyer went to the judge twice. The judge said the name didn't belong to me, it belonged to my husband. And without his permission, I couldn't have the name corrected. So I took the time to fill out the paperwork and pay the fees and go to court, not once, but twice. And I said, if I have to do this, A, I'm going to have a story to tell. And B, I'm going to get something I really want. So call me M.
Yay. Oh, M. Listen, I have a special question for you.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to ask Melanie too, so pay attention, Melanie. We're talking about fierce kindness and courage, right? And I'm just curious, I know it changes all the time for, I'm guessing, for you guys, but right now in your life, what would you say is like the most important practice that's helping you align with kindness or courage, or both?
Telling the truth to myself and others.
I love that you didn't even pause.
I took one for the team, Melanie. Now you know the question.
Was there anything else you wanted to say about your work?
You know, that introduction really summarizes my work, I think.
I do too.
Brenda Knight might agree. Yes.
Brenda, beware. I'm going to invite you to speak after Melanie. Okay, Melanie, hello, welcome.
Hello, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, before you start officially, I know you've got a big honor happening in the moment. Can you share that with us?
Well, yes. Yeah, pretty exciting. My newest book, which is Yoga to Support Immunity, is a Forward Indie Book Award finalist. Just found out. Yeah, under the health category, which, you know, it's cool. Very
super cool.
Super cool. Yeah. So that's super sweet. Thank you for mentioning it.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It happened at exactly the right day too. I was having one of those really bad days, you know, where it's like, maybe I should see if, I don't know, Home Depot is hiring and I should go help with the wood stacking. And then I was like, oh, look, I'm a finalist. Maybe I'll stick with what I'm doing. I don't know. I still might try Home Depot because I like the smell of wood. You know, it keeps me grounded. Sherry, I'm totally digressing.
I don't care. I love it. You know, you two, you talk about whatever you want. But if you did want to tell us a little about your work too, we'd love that.
Sure. You know, I'm super interested in what works practically. You know, it's funny, Marianne M, as you said about truth, and I couldn't agree more. It's like, what helps us hear our own truth? What helps us, even to the point of like, what may seem so simple, to hear the body. Body's hungry. Body's tired. Go lay down. Like, can we listen and respond accordingly instead of being like, ah, shut up, body. You know, I don't care if you're thirsty, not get any water. I'm not laying down for another 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm really interested in that and figuring it out for myself and being as real and honest and helpful as I can. And then, you know, translating that to others.
Wow. I love where we're going already. This is so good. So let me ask you the same question. And is it related to what you just said, a practice that you have right now that helps you align with fierce kindness?
Absolutely. What I would say that's keeping me the most, I'll call it anchored, but present, is having a very set mini habit sequence each day.
Ooh.
Like I get up pretty much the same way every morning. I do pretty much the same things every morning. Boom, boom, boom. And I continue. So I have these anchor points throughout the day. And that has helps me immensely stay present and feel like I'm taking care of me properly, so then I can then be more helpful to others.
Is it too personal to ask if you'll share one or two of them?
Sure. No, I want to share. The first thing I do every morning, I usually wake up before my alarm, but the light usually kind of wakes me up, is I flip over on my belly. Probably too much information already. You're like, please show me your clothes. I'm clothed. I wear Clive kids. They're all around. So I'm over on my belly and I breathe deeply, pushing my belly button into the mattress to reset my nervous system and to get my digestion going. I do that every morning and I do it before I go to sleep at night. So I get in bed. This is way too much information. And my room is tan and I have white bedding. And I lay over on my belly and I I deep breathe. And I have snake plants all over the room. I do. I love plants. So anyway, but I deep breathe that way. And that's how I begin and end my day, to again reset my nervous system and get my digestion going. And then within that, I'm always thinking of like, okay, I'm going to take care of myself today.
Wow.
I'm going to take time. And so then I go from there.
Oh, not too much information. I mean, frankly, for those people who weren't here, we were going to all get you naked and, show up that way just to surprise you all. So I think this is perfectly game. I love that, because also it's like that kindness that you're expressing to yourself, and I can hear in that, right? The deep listening to your body.
100%. Because I ignored my body for so many years. Maybe some of you can relate. I've ignored my body for so many years that now that's the most important thing for me to do right now, is to continue to listen and then respond accordingly.
Wow. I love this. Hey, I'm going to turn it over to Brenda, because you're here and it's a treat when you have a moment to stop by and be here with us. So.
Oh, certainly. I was sort of just sitting here mystified that you said you ignored your body, because as a yogini, I would think that like you didn't, you're very attuned to your body. So before I rattle off my thoughts, I wondered if you could expand on that and explain, because I think you mean something different than I'm thinking.
Sure. What I believe the yoga practice, Brenda, has absolutely helped me listen more and more. So that on the mat was the first time I ever listened, but yet I still pushed.
Okay.
I'm like, one more chaturanga. Let's fold a little bit deeper. I have ambition here, body. I know you're tired. Let's do a little more. So it's taken me a long time. I'm a slow learner. It's taken me a really long time. And then off the mat to actually recognize and not debate. When the sleep pressure comes, that's the place really right now I'm really working on. Sleep pressure. I feel tired. My body's tired. So I can either sit down right now, or I can tell my body why I shouldn't. But now I have dinner to make. I got to, do this. I got to do that. So that's, yes. So yes, it's a process.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, I think courage and kindness go hand in hand. And so I love this pairing. And then this morning, I realized that for years and years and years, I would set an intention for my day before I got up. Like the minute my eyes opened, I would set an intention. And this morning, I realized I'd forgotten to do it for over a month. And I think it was because of busyness at work. And then I think actually what's going on in Ukraine, sort of rocked me out of my, I wanted to, I don't know, I think I ran away outside of my mind and body because it's just so horrible. And then, I realized well, actually, this is the time to double down on setting intentions, because how I was taught to set intentions was that at the end, it's for the world. It's like for the good of all in the world. And the world needs as much good as it can get. And then I think you guys are getting to know me well enough to know that I sort of go by intuition and gut a lot. And very early in what was happening in Ukraine, when mamas and children were like walking across the border into other countries and being greeted with like strollers and like food and hugs and all that, I thought, oh, of course, the reaction to great cruelty is going to be great kindness. And so I brought that to a meeting at Mango, an editorial meeting, and I said, we're the kindness publisher. We're Random Acts of Kindness, Fierce Kindness, every kind of kindness. I said, it's time to double down on kindness. And then actually that was one of the meetings I had this morning, was like going over like the Canary backlist. There was a jewel from M that I want to revive too. And like we were, very like specifically figuring out like which kindness books to republish, how to republish them, and all this and that. And so I just sort of felt like, I'm just like a lady that sits in her living room and is in a lot of Zoom meetings that help, and trying to publish good books. But like, but you know what, maybe like that effort and that intention can like ripple out into the world, and it's for the good of all. So I was really looking forward to this heart wisdom today because I'm preoccupied with kindness, and I would love it if you all like sort of like talked about like what other books you'd like to see on kindness. And then Sherry knows this, but like, here I was thinking like, oh, it's just my wacky Brenda idea that like now is the time for more kindness than ever in reaction to such horrible cruelty. But then my hunch was sort of confirmed, because out of the blue, I got contacted by a major magazine and they wanted to talk to me about random acts of kindness and specific acts of kindness. And I was, of course, more than happy to talk about it. And then I said, you need to talk to another kindness expert by the name of Sherry Richert Belul. And so I believe she got interviewed too. But I just thought, how interesting, like, we can have these ideas, not know whether, what the result will be, but then the universe is out there doing its own work. And like, so just pay attention to the universe and listen to it. And so I'm going to be more guided by, I'm going to allow myself to be more guided by my intuition than ever, especially if it's for the good of all. So that's my story.
I'm so glad you could be here today. We've missed you when you aren't able to be here, Brenda, but
yes,
it's beautiful to hear. I love that. I mean, talk about, and I'd love to hear Melanie and Em talk to it too, but for me, it's like following our intuition is such a kindness, not just to ourselves, but I do believe how it serves the world, because I don't think it's my intuition necessarily. I see it as coming from, something bigger. So I love that you brought that in. What did you guys want to add?
I know it. Go ahead, Melanie.
No, go ahead.
I know many mystics talk about dipping into the river of commonality and spirit and inspiration. It's always reaching down. And since I was a child, I understood it as this current of grace and knowing and spirit and goodness and ideas that circle above us. And so it's not, when you listen, as you just referenced, Brenda, when you're listening, what you're doing is reaching up and scooping scooping, like I think of the Jewish women in the Sabbath ceremony, where you're drawing the smoke and the scent of the smoke to yourself. That's what it is. And that's how a person in Mumbai and Miami and Berkeley can all have the same idea in 3 different locations at the same time, because they brought it in. Reached
Let's
for
all do it. Let's just all do it for a moment. Come on. Ooh, yeah. That feels good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Moving.
I feel like it likes to be invited in.
It does.
Muse. No, it's and right with you. I completely agree. And it can also be an embodied feeling, right? So that movement, that swirl, the yogis talk about the point of prana, right? Or the lotus in the navel, but this place, this deep spin, it goes right with gut health and gut intuition, right? So we get this feeling, and as we are truthful, so it's so perfect, again, what you said before, as we were really listening, feeling, being authentic, honest, we have this deeper sensation inside. And it's like, okay, or am I going to follow my gut? Am I going to listen to, what, or see the images that are coming from within and into my awareness, my field? And so I feel like we're all talking kind of like the same thing, just different kind of applications of it. So it's like, if you listen and you feel your body, well, your body's going to tell you, like, something has to happen, or this is where to go, or don't go there. Yeah.
Love this. I want to circle back because I know it was really important. It came up a couple times, or a few times actually, which is, we've talked, the words telling the truth. Telling the truth has come up. And Em, I'm going to invite you, if you don't mind, to just start us off with saying a little bit more about, because before, I think this was before we started recording even, that we were talking about how telling the truth both takes courage and is or can be a true kindness.
Yes. Many different professionals and experts on sociological exchanges are observing the depth of anxiety, not just in the American culture, but around the globe. There is economic uncertainty at a pinnacle, or higher than the average economic insecurity that our country is used to. The pandemic has taken a toll that we will not understand for quite some time. And there is upside downness in our own political structures and in the globe with the war. There are wars in Africa raging. There is the war in Ukraine. And there is the fight for the soul of its country in France. So these things weigh on the average person in America. And what happens is they either reach and pull a deeper, more expressive kindness and courage and guts than they knew they could, or they go punch their friend in the face. They act they act out. They are mean. They are unkind. They bitch and complain and criticize and want to blame anything on anyone. And I had a long time associate contact me about a familiar structure, a conflict that I've heard before. And I asked this caller what they wanted from me in this call. And what they wanted, they said, was for me to listen and give feedback. And so when the rant was done, I said, this and other conflicts like it, can you tell me the common denominator in all of them? Is there a thread of commonality in all of these conflict experiences? It was really an uncomfortable silence, and I sat with it. And the response was, you're telling me that I'm the common element in all of these. And I said, I didn't tell you that. Are you telling me that? I asked the question. And so these are honest inquiries that allow me to be kind and bring a person to a place of recognition if they're capable of getting there. And I'd be interested, I'm fascinated to know what you think of this, Melanie, because I believe that it is a great unkindness if someone is not ready to look in the mirror. You don't grab them by the garment and take them to the mirror and say, look at that, because they can't bear it. And also they might hit you. So when I say it's courageous and kind to tell the truth, I mean that I must know myself well enough to know how much truth is kind. And perhaps being silent is in the moment the greatest kindness that I can offer someone.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That resonates so deeply. You know, in the yogic tradition, thousands of years old, the passing down of the first tenet of yoga practice, which is ahimsa. And ahimsa means non-harming or non-violent. And the second tenet, and they're in order, in that order for a particular reason, is satya. Satya means truthfulness. So non-harming and then truthfulness.
Wow.
And that there is this always this interplay, right? Of you know, it's the truth, right? Will it do harm, right? And going back and forth in that. So I do feel that it is one to really be present with and to continue to inquire, you know, each moment, each situation, you know, yes, is it little t truth? Is it big T truth? Like what kind of truth, what truth are we talking about? It really depends on our perspective, right? There's so many opportunities for us to turn from another angle and consider. And I love that. Always an opportunity to grow and learn and maybe model, right? Instead of saying, you look at this, it's like, I always think of like, okay, what is this here to teach me? What is that being showing me? And possibly very clearly, it's actually in me. So many layers, right? We could go on many tangents with that.
We could write a book about it.
What a good idea. What a good idea.
So, Sherry, I think that in the conflict and the anxiety, that large swaths of our population are looking for the satisfaction of blame. The ease of, this is not me. This is not mine. I don't deserve this. It's her fault.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same culture that's also looking out from them to be fixed. Take a Tylenol. That was always my favorite. That's always come to me from like, family, whatever. What, something's wrong? Take Tylenol. So that to me is like the embodiment or the right. So I'm looking at you to fix me. I want to be happy. Well, hang out with me. I'm going to right instead of that aspect, which again is a harder sell, is that it's really within me. So I'm going to turn my eyes inside and say, okay, how can I connect to my contentment? How can I connect to my peace? How can I create step by step little habits so I am healthier and then be of bigger service in the world? So it's not just, oh, it's about me. I don't, everyone else can burn, but it's let me take my accountability and now step into my dharma, my soul purpose, where I'm here to be of service at some level.
Melanie,
Mhm.
this might be the perfect time. You just said step by step. And I feel like that maybe, do you think this is a good time for you to share what you
Sure.
brought? Because that's just
Sure. No, what Sherry's talking about is there's a process in what I call fierce kindness, but really whether it's fierce kindness, where it's yoga, whether it's how you navigate, how you regulate your nervous system, like whatever angle you want to come in on it. But it's based, this kind of toolkit or process that's step by step is based on how to listen and how to then discern, what way to go. And that our thoughts have a frequency, like a radio frequency, an energetic frequency. And our thoughts also they create feelings in the body and in our whole energetic system, but feelings, right? And also those feelings do create a chemical release in the brain and the body. So then it becomes our, with consistency, we feel a certain way, right? We think a certain way, we feel a certain way, our body creates the chemistry, and then we manifest whatever that is, whether that's, radiant health or the other. So in that, I break it down basically. And what does fear feel like? And what does love feel like? So simple, completely oversimplified. I realize that. So in our journey, if you're willing, right? And maybe later, someone's listening and they're driving or whatever, so don't close your eyes. But if you can, just come into your body. I find that creating symmetry in the body, so right and left sides of the body being even on both sides, helps the nervous system kind of regulate into a relaxation response. So just create symmetry in the body. If you can, anchor your feet on the floor. Otherwise, press into your sitting bones. And just begin to breathe through the nose and let the breath kind of, again, regulate. Smooth through the nose and down into the belly. Just take a little scan in the body. Is there any sensation in the body? Come back to the body over and over, because the body lives in the present. It's completely present. It also doesn't lie. So as you breathe into the body, just note where there may be sensation, and maybe there's some really good sensation in the body. I hope there may be. And breathe into that sensation. And if there's any sensation that feels not as good, use your breath to just begin to soothe that sensation. And we'll only be here for a moment, but briefly think of something that frightens you. And some of them were mentioned possibly in this conversation. And allow that feeling to move into the body. Notice what happens to your breath. Notice what happens to your belly, your throat. And then take a full exhalation, maybe even kind of shake it out of the body, maybe a right? I get it off my shoulders, get it off my belly, get it off my heart. And then just resettle. Go back to your breath in through the nose, down into the belly. It's really down into your lungs, but your belly button moves out and in with the diaphragm muscle. And then think about something that you love. Something you're very grateful for. And breathe into it. And note what that feels like in the body. Note the belly, the throat, maybe even a feeling of expansion through the whole body. And then stay with that feeling, which is the yogis believe is our birthright. That is our true self, is pure energy that cannot be created or destroyed. That is in the frequency of love. Then from that frequency, begin a simple practice wherever and whenever you find you're in confusion or reaction, to pause, feel. Gosh, I feel fear in my body. Note what you feel. Observe if you can. Right? This is some Jedi stuff. Observe the thoughts. Right? Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? Whatever it is. And then once you observe the thoughts, see if you can shift it, make some distance from it, even challenge it. Really, is that true? And then shift it to something you're either grateful for or that you also know to be true, that will bring you in to the love channel, tuning from the fear channel to the love channel. Now, obviously that doesn't fix everything. Of course it doesn't. But it does help shift the chemical release in your brain and your body. It does help the mind, the body come together and begin to work in harmony for a better solution. So it's our best bet to stepping forward to be of service in whatever realm that is, for ourselves and for others. So I call that whole process fierce kindness, because in my experience, that's why I call it the Jedi stuff, to even hear your own thoughts, to make separation from you and the thought, to be the observer. And then have the practice of being able to shift it. Well, it's fierce. It's hard. It's not easy. So, and it is powerful and potent and worth a try.
Melanie, thank you for leading us through that.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering if anybody would like to share an experience that came up around that. I'll start us off and we'll see if anybody else wants to jump in.
Thanks, Sherry.
But I'll tell you something really powerful happened. My son has been going through a really challenging week with some emotional things, and any parents know, right? It's just like, it's so worrisome. It's so stressful and so my fear, I went to all those places of fear when you invited us. And what happened when you invited us to let that go and to feel the love, I just felt all this love for my son. And of course, right? Like, I don't want to be holding fearful thoughts for him. That's not what energy, I do feel like energy is real. So to be able just to feel all that love and to, to transform it was so powerful. And I thank you for that, because I do feel that that's the first place of, yes, it serves me, but it's also then what gets carried out into the world.
Oh, Sherry, thank you for that. Yes. Yeah, I'm so glad. And I can completely relate. Really, completely relate. Mhm. What I will say is that just watching the screens, when you went, and I'm talking like big you, when you all went to some place that you loved and are grateful for, your face is again, this is going to be a slightly woo-woo, the auric field around each of you. And just in the opposite, when you went to someone, your fear went, and to even be able to see that in Zoom is just
right.
It's very moving, very moving.
Melanie, Leo Tolstoy, in one of my favorite light reads, War and Peace, said
Big
that,
mind over here, really big mind.
Said that the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. And I've been working around the concept of energetic expenditures, trying to help a group of clients understand that time and patience are the two most powerful commodities. So I don't even know how to say it. Did you say oracular?
Auric field.
Auric field. It's really not woo. It's very scientific. It's very energetic medicine based.
100%.
And we understand bank accounts, but we forget that we have energetic bank accounts just the same way. And what you teach is how it's like banks working with young people. Here's a savings account, here's a checking account, here's your business account. That's what you do with your energy work. You teach people how to invest in these other
So beautifully put, so clearly put. I love that, Em. Yes. And to plug up the leaks.
Yes.
Plug up the leaks. I'm a plumber. We're plumbers.
Or build a firewall around your digital accounting system, said another way.
And isn't it true that's also your work?
It is. My work and Melanie's work are remarkably parallel, but I articulate in corporate language, in business language, and you get to express the truth of what you teach in even though I'm a poet, I communicate ideas like a business person, and you communicate ideas that are very practical in poetry and body truth. And I was hoping that you would take that knowledge of yours, and in my poem that I wrote for us today, I talked about courage holding high my clenched fists as a young person, defending myself. And here we are at that intersection again, no harm and no aggression, no violence. Talk about the warrior pose, if you would, Melanie, in this contradictory kind of thing work.
It's warrior pose. So Virabhadrasana, there are multiple warrior poses. So if you've done the asana, the poses in the yoga practice, which by the way, the poses are so your body feels good enough to be still. That's the whole point. Like, just be still. Oh, you're uncomfortable? Okay, let's work out the body. Yeah, when you don't feel good, it's hard to be quiet. I get it. Okay, so it's that practical. And then we have these snapshots of postures that can help us with embodiment. So the mind isn't just blah, 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 and the body's over here being ignored, and the soul is like, hey, is anyone listening? Right? So we can bring it all together. And then we have warrior pose, right? Right, warrior pose. We have multiple warrior pose, right? So often translated as warrior, but the true translation of Virabhadrasana is courage. It was a warrior that had courage. And courage, right, we know is at the heart. And so we're talking about the energy, the clarity of purpose. Talking about listening deep within, and it may be inconvenient, it may be unpopular, but yet deep within, you know, it's your purpose, it's your dharma, it's your job. Why? You don't understand how your soul made these choices before you came, but you know somewhere inside that it's your job. So, we look at the Bhagavad-Gita, it's a story, it's right in the middle of a war. This conversation, this spiritual conversation, right, is right in the middle on the battlefield. So, do we kill or do we run? What is the Dharma? And what is violence? I mean, we could go on this. What is violence? What is death? In the Gita, there is no death. There is no death. Personality known as Mel is a sweater. Right? So I'm digressing. I take off my sweater, I put on my sweater, but the essence of me is the same. So there's so many opportunities for us to look, what is truth? What is non-harming? What is my Dharma? And where do I use that courage?
I find it fascinating that those decades ago, Tolstoy wrote, the two greatest warriors of spirit are time and patience. And people talk about the power of money. Well, how is money acquired? But by trading time for it. So people say time is money, but in truth, it's money is time. And kindness, fierce kindness, and courage get embodied in patience. Wow. This impulse between friends to, no, that's not right, or no, she couldn't have said that about you, or these conflicts that emerge. If we just rocked back on our heels and invested in, you said, stillness, patience, and time, and knowing what is our job to fix and restore and mediate, and what is our job to just observe and see what time and patience is going to resolve without our fussing and intervention and being all up in it.
Yep. Oh, beautiful. That patience is that buffer. That patience is that pausing. That patience is that space, that firewall, even as you described it. It has so much layered meaning. How profound, Em, how profound.
I know, Em. And I, for both of you, I love the way that you're both weaving in, just pulling things from, far ago and practices. And I'm reminded as you were talking too, that my own spiritual teacher in my Zen center right now, we're practicing with fear, anger, and guilt. And we're practicing what you just said, which is just noticing. So for 3 weeks, we've just been just noticing. And I love the wisdom in that. And Mel, what you said, that reminder about yoga was so beautiful, you know, about stillness.
Yeah.
I know we only have a few. Brenda, jump on in.
One thing that really is sticking in my mind is when Em was talking about uncomfortable silence, like in that conversation. But there, I think probably several times a week, like some of us like have the occasion to experience silence, comfortable and uncomfortable. But like I think we're acculturated to want to fill it up and not allow the silence. So I was just wondered if Em if everyone could like speak to like what we're missing out by not allowing those silences, comfortable and uncomfortable.
Our impulse to fix creates chaos. So what I would say about the uncomfortable silence is when someone does that in your ear, to school yourself in the kindness of time and patience, and to have the courage to say, I don't know. That takes so much guts, because we're all supposed to know everything about it, about all the stuff. And it takes so much courage to just say, I got nothing. I got nothing, but I can listen to you.
I love that. I feel like that also gives space for receptivity.
Rachel.
Well, when you were saying listen too, and it's like, we all want to feel heard. And when someone instantly is not taking that exhale, taking that space, it can actually keep the person from feeling heard. And so it's such a beautiful, practice to remind ourselves to exhale, let someone speak fully, repeat back what they, that practice, so that someone feels heard. Because sometimes the truth comes out in feeling heard. It's about finding our own truth.
Ding, ding, ding. That, I wish I could wrap around you, Rachel, and do that.
Yeah. Rachel, I know personally, I really needed to hear that right this second. So
I
thank you so
honestly
much.
just said I want to get a tattoo right here that says listen with love as that reminder, just so I can literally look at it sometimes, because it's sometimes especially when we have so much information, we have so many tools, sometimes it's hard to just listen and allow someone to feel heard and create their own truth and find their own truth in it. So
Absolutely.
I needed it too.
Hey, if you guys are game, I know it's 2:30, we should close up, but I just think it would be wonderful to have 1 minute of silence so we could just all just be here in that very beautiful, comfortable or uncomfortable silence. And if you have to go, I understand. But anybody with me? Yeah? Let's just do it. And maybe if you close your eyes if you want or not. Thank you for all of this. Em and Melanie, oh my goodness. I just knew this was going to be spectacular. Thank you. And Brenda, thank you for being here and sharing in and adding, and Rachel for adding in that really, really important piece that we needed at the end. And Linda and Bree and Shelby and Liz Maria and Loretta with your beautiful curlers. Thank you all. It was just so beautiful to be here with you all. I say this a lot, but it's really true. You matter, showing up just like everyone did today. It really matters. It makes such a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
We are here every Wednesday. I'm going to be away for the next 3 on a big grand adventure, but we have some wonderful, Rachel's here and she's one of our people who's going to be facilitating. Shelby is also here. She's going to be facilitating. Karen will be here for 1 week. So please come back. Please be with us. And thank you. Be still. Who said be still and
Thank
know?
you.
Love that.
Have
Bye,
a fun
everybody.
adventure, Sherry.
Thank you. I'll see you when I get back.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.